Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be diving into installation steps with respect to MySQL on your working station or PC, laptop, whatever you wanna call it. Here we are gonna be working with MySQL Workbench. This is one of the most comprehensive tools out there for database management. In order to begin with, you have to visit this link, or you can directly search MySQL Workbench on your favorite browser and get started with the download process. From there you have to basically go ahead and get your installer. Usually your window would look somewhat like this. It might ask you to create an account. However, you can skip that step and directly click on no thanks, just start my download. The MySQL installer usually would be a 32-bit Windows MSI installer. However, it depends on your operating system, so make the choice wisely. So once you have gotten your installer downloaded, double click on the installer to run it. The installer basically will open up with a welcome screen. There are various setups that you will have to go through. Once the installation process has been completed, you would be welcomed with the MySQL Windows screen. So it will basically ask you to set up a specific type. The default developer is the best recommended one, so you could always switch to that. But if you know what you are doing, you can definitely switch to the other options as well. But as a beginner, I would always recommend to stick to developer default. Once you have done so, click next. Once you click next, it will basically show you this specific requirements window. If those requirements are not present on your system, you can directly download from there. However, in most scenarios you would not need to do that. You can go ahead and click next. Once that has been downloaded, the new screen would basically look up to something like this. You would basically see all the different products and the setups and the components which are required for the process of installation to occur. You can always choose specific products that you require. However, usually the default selections are recommended. As you can see, you will see basically somewhat stuff like MySQL Server for database hosting and Workbench for your interface. Once you are satisfied with the kind of selections, you can go ahead and click execute. Once you click on the execute button, the actual installation process would begin, and you would see a new window open up which would look somewhat like this, where all your features would be shown up with a green check mark next to each. Once this process of installation has occurred, usually it would download and install these components that you just selected from the previous window. It might take a few minutes, but be patient. You would also see a progress bar accompanied on your screen. Once all the components have been installed successfully, you can click next to move on. Here you will have to basically configure your MySQL server. This is a critical step. Usually it might ask you to choose a standalone MySQL server or classic MySQL replication option. Whatever is the default, please go with that. Once you have done that, you will basically be setting up your root password. Always remember, this is the most important thing, and make sure it's memorable. Once that has been done, you can click on next. After the configuration step, the installer would basically finalize the setup and initialize MySQL. You will see the status updates for each step. confirming whether everything is up to mark as expected. Once this process is complete, click finish to wrap up the process of installation. So yeah, this is basically all the checkboxes. Whether it's asking you whether you want to start up your MySQL Workbench immediately, you can leave it as such. So yeah, once you have done that, you would basically see the installation complete, and the MySQL Workbench window would look somewhat like this. If you are a first time beginner, you can double click on the Workbench icon on your desktop or find it on your start menu. Once that happens, you would see the same main interface which I am showing you on the screen right now. Here you basically manage database connections, and you can start off with SQL queries. So yeah, this is pretty much how you basically go ahead with this. Let's say we want to basically set up a new connection. To set up a new connection on your MySQL server, you would go on to click the MySQL connections icon and enter the details. Let's say you want to use the host name, let's say localhost, something like that. You can leave the default port value to 3306, enter the username and your password that you set up at the time of configuration, and hit enter. Once you have done that, you would have your connection set up and you can start interacting with MySQL server. So yeah, that's pretty much how the process of setting up SQL Workbench looks like. Next we will dive into XAMPP.